Namaste, greetings and blessings, and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts. This is our Sunday message, and I am Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson, the founder and spiritual director of this center. And I invite you to watch not only this Sunday message, but any of our archived messages. I invite you to join any classes or events that we have going on. I invite you to reach out and email if you have any questions. Questions about this community, questions about me, questions about what we do, or questions about this science of mind and spirit, liberation theology that we practice and teach. And if by chance you find yourself seeking beloved community with other like-minded beings, even if you already belong, are a member of another community, church, or center, you are more than free to have multiple affiliations wherever you are fed and find community. You are invited. And lastly, feel free to click like, subscribe, and share this or any other message or announcements with others in your circle. And with that, much appreciation, love, and blessings. Enjoy the message. Namaste and greetings. What's going on? How's everything going? Are you loving the unlikable? What's your opinion on that? What are the facts? What's the truth? Well, that's exactly what we will be discussing today. We will be discussing, do the beliefs that you hold fall into the category of opinion, fact, or truth? And which ones are which? Because we have them all, technically. Just put that out there straight up front. Technically, we have them all. When you hold a belief that is revealed to you at some point that it's false, it's a false opinion, it's a debunked fact, how open and willing are you to change that belief? I mean, I know some 75-year-olds who still say the tooth fairy is real. How willing are you? How willing are we to let go of it's not true, that's AI generated, or it's not true, that's a bias, that's not really how it happened. What do you hold as truth that other people disagree with? I mean, we could say this teaching, there are people who say that this teaching, that we are a cult, not a cult, a cult. So they disagree with a lot of what other truths, what other ideas and beliefs do you hold that maybe people in your family, friends, someone disagrees with? Maybe it's simple as they disagree with you're not supposed to put raisins in potato salad. You're not supposed to put sugar on grits. That's fine. I'm not saying it has to be a disagreement about world peace and ending hunger. What is a truth that you hold that others disagree with? And what do you do when someone that you love fundamentally disagrees with a value that you hold dear? See, now it's different. We ain't talking about the grits and sugar anymore. We talking about values. Taking care of immigrants versus sending them off to concentration camps. It's values related. Creating a Department of Peace rather than a Department of War. That's related to values. What do you do when someone fundamentally disagrees with the values that you hold dear, especially as someone who studies and practices science of mind and spirit? Just saying. What? I think I look pretty good to be a, nope, you're wrong. They don't even agree. He thinks he looks good to be a zombie. He says he's wrong. Is he wrong? Is that based on values? John Lennon said, I believe in everything until it's disproved. So, yes, I believe in fairies, the myths, dragons. It all exists, even if it's in your mind. Who's to say that dreams and nightmares aren't as real as the here and now? If you ever saw Harry Potter, the films and whatnot written by whose name shall not be spoken, there's a line when Harry is killed and he says to Dumbledore, is this real or is it all happening in my mind? And Dumbledore says, of course, Harry, it's happening in your mind, but why do you think that that's not real? In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, one of the things that they spoke about in the multiverse with Doctor Strange was when we're dreaming, what we're actually doing is seeing another version of ourselves in another one of the multiversal experiences. So when I have a dream that I'm a clown, Tracy, stop. When I have a dream that I'm a clown and work for Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey, that's actually a version of me that actually exists somewhere in the grand scope of infinite realities. Now, I'm just throwing this out there to say, as John Lennon says, who's to say that the dreams and the nightmares that we have aren't as real as right here and right now? Just saying. I have no idea what I am looking for or what I am looking at. I know you said that last week. You said what now? What am I supposed to do? Well, start by thinking outside of the box. How do I think outside of the box? Well, do you know what Uncle Walt would say? Uncle Walt? You mean Walt Disney? Yes. Do you know what Uncle Walt would say? He would say, box. What box? In other words, why allow yourself to be limited by the confines of even having the idea of box? Because there is no box. The same thing the little bald boy told Neo when trying to bend the spoon. The thing is, you cannot bend the spoon. That is impossible. What you do is bend your mind, and then the spoon will bend. There is no box. There is no spoon. If you want something you never had, you have to do something you've never done. What is something that you've never had that you want? And what is the thing you have to do to manifest it? For example, we've never had a world that truly worked for all. In order to do so, then we have to do something that we've never done before. Breathe. Quiz time. On today's show, what we are going to do is identify what are the facts, what are the opinions, and what is the truth. If you are ready, let's begin. Ray's Pizza is phenomenal. Opinion, fact, truth. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Chocolate ice cream is far better than strawberry. Fact, truth, or opinion. Ba-da-ba-ba. If you want a really good peanut butter and jelly sandwich, toast the bread. It's delicious. Truth, fact, or opinion. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. We can do the same. We could do the exact same thing with chicken and waffles and many things. Are we able to identify, is it a fact? Is it the truth? Is it an opinion? We can do the same thing, which we do with a number of things, such as film and television. The movie Sinners. Is it a good movie? What determines if it's a good movie? What about The Conjuring? Last Rites. For me, Sinners, 5 out of 5 stars. Actually, no, 9 out of 5 stars. Conjuring, 2.5, maybe 3 out of 5.
The Exorcist. Very, very scary, right? Are these opinions, though? Are they based upon my preferences and my filters, etc.? We do the same thing with Superman, the most recent one. I love the movie. Many did not. Many prefer the Zack Snyder version of Superman with Henry Cavill. What determines if a movie is good or not? What determines if you like it or not? Because there are many good movies that people still do not like. I liked this version of Jack Reacher. It was entertaining, but this is better. I liked and enjoyed this version of Interview with a Vampire. But this version right here, oh my goodness. What determines I like this? It was cool. I would watch it again. This, I love it. But why? What determines? How often do we sit down and determine, sit down and analyze, sit down and filter what is going on in my consciousness that makes one thing liked and another not liked? One thing loved and another hated. One thing preferred and another one, it's not my thing. How often do we open ourselves to investigate and determine, is it time to move on and let something change? In other words, to do something we've never done before. But for the average person who has no knowledge of this law, their only use of it will be a reflection of what the consensus of human opinion believes must take place in the life of the majority of individuals who may happen to be living at any time on this planet. You heard the saying that says something to the effect of, if you're not the one choosing, then others will choose for you. If you are not standing firm, you'll fall for anything. If you are not being a leader, then you're going to be a follower. If your friends jump off the bridge, you're going to jump off the bridge too? Kind of idea. If your friends go and do this, are you going to go do it too, just because your friends are doing it? The average person who has no knowledge of the law, they are going to continue to operate based upon the collective consciousness until such time as they say, I need to do something else. Why do many young people want to smoke? There's a concept in the mind, especially back in the day when everybody smoked it and smoked everywhere, on the bus, on the train, in the restaurants. Smoking was equated with being grown. So people wanted to smoke. Kids wanted to smoke. Because the collective consciousness created an image that it's mature, it's sexy, it's grown up. I want to be that. So that means I have to do that. Until we understand and have applicable, practical use of the knowledge of what the law is and how it operates, we're going to be at the mercy of the collective. All evolution is an awakening and development of the greater possibility, resulting in an unfoldment of an inherent potential. Since people live in their consciousness, it follows that a change of consciousness will produce a change in the outward manifestation. Hence, we arrive at the idea that people live in and live by their beliefs and opinions. and that could they change these beliefs and opinions, there would be an outward manifestation corresponding to that inner change. This is where we get the phrase or the idea of change your thinking, change your life. If we understand how thoughts are tied to words, are tied to emotions and feelings, are tied to actions, the four pillars of our mental equivalence, if we really understand those, then it's easier to make changes as needed to change the outward experience for the individual and the collective. All evolution is an awakening and development of. All evolution is. So, are we willing to do the work, to step into that space and change what needs to be changed? For example, are we aware of our opinions? Do we even know what an opinion is? An opinion, a view or judgment formed about something that is not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. There are subjective opinions and there are objective opinions. Just being aware. A subjective opinion is a personal belief or judgment. Unlike an objective statement, a subjective opinion cannot be proven true or false through universally accepted criteria. Now, note that they're specifying an objective opinion is actually an objective statement. Because if it's not based on facts or criteria, knowledge that has criteria, in other words, receipts, then is it really objective? It's subjective. It's based upon my feelings or your feelings. How well do we know and discern these things for ourselves? The foolish and the dead, they alone are the ones who never change their opinions. What? The foolish and the dead. In other words, all of us do and should have movable, flexible, changing opinions. We should not have the same opinions. Nope. Just like you can't step in the same river twice, we should not have the same opinions day in and day out. We shouldn't. Let us take a moment of silence as the minister, what? At least now he knows that the earth is a sphere. What in the world? What do you mean? Wait, what? Oh, I know. Yeah, I know who you're talking about now. Yeah. Oh, snap. What? Dude. Father, blah, 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 blah. I've seen it. Yeah, it looks like a sphere. That's what Hollywood special effects wants us to believe. I'm not going in the ground until you all admit I was, I am, and I will continue to be right. The earth is flat. What was that Alexander said about the foolish and the dead? They alone are the ones who never change their opinion. Okay, never mind. Religious science is an educational as well as a religious movement. Is it not fascinating that Many people within our movement say that we are not religious, or they are not religious, but and endeavors to coordinate the findings of science, religion, and philosophy to find a common ground upon which true philosophic conclusions, spiritual intuitions, and mystic revelations may agree with the cold facts of science, thus producing fundamental conclusions, the denial of which is not conceivable to a rational mind. It goes without saying that such conclusions cannot contradict each other. No system of thought can stand which denies human experiences. No religion can remain vital which separates humanity from divinity, nor can any science which denies the spontaneous appearance of volition and, will in the universe maintain its position. This teaching is about finding the harmony between all of these individual fields of study and fields of awareness, and think of it like your senses. So I've got a cup of coffee. So one, which of my senses are engaged? My hands hold the cup, feel the warmth. I smell the aroma of the coffee. I see it as I stir it, and I see, maybe I made a little frothy bunny or something on top of it, and I see it. It's nothing to hear, but okay. And I'm getting ready to taste it. So think about it that way. How are we engaging the various senses of religion and science and psychology and philosophy for an entire holistic experience of this thing called science of mind and spirit? So rather than saying, poo-poo, no, we don't do that, or poo-poo, no, we don't do that, what does it mean to be open at the top and open at the bottom and be present to? Just like I can go into a restaurant and someone next to me, they ordered the mushroom and bacon something sandwich. I see it, I smell it, and that's good enough for me. I don't want to taste it and everything else. Even though I hear them smacking, I hear them, okay, cool. I can receive the information and know that there is nothing other than that for me. I need not ingest it. That's no different than anything else. I can understand Christian nationalism and know that it's not for me. But the more I understand about it, the more I am able to be in a position to heal those who are ready to be healed regarding it. Isn't that what physicians do? They study illness and disease. They study germs and viruses. So, how are we invited to take in the full expansiveness of art and music and dance, all of the creativity related expressions and all of the philosophical and mystical and magical, and find that space that harmonizes with Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0, and then embody that and practice that? That's the invitation that Holmes is basically getting to. The reason that we term the use of creative thought a science is the fact that it can be taught. It can be learned. It can be consciously applied with a certainty of definite and repeatable results. This is what we mean when we say there is a science of mind. Now, I'm going to say something that's a little controversial. Are you ready? That piece about certainty of definite and repeatable results depends on what we think that means and what we make that mean. Because if we are taking that to mean that if person A says a spiritual mind treatment or whatever their practice is to receive money, since that's one of the things a lot of people want, that if I do the same thing, I will also receive money. That if someone prayed for healing and that their mom or dad not die, and they didn't, then I should be able to do the same thing and my mom and dad not die. It doesn't mean that. It's not certain and definite in terms of being repeatable in that way. What this is letting us know is if we do the practice, there is certainty of a definite experience as a result, and that's repeatable, right? For example, if you play the piano, play a piece of music, is it the exact same every time? We'll say Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, and you play it on Monday. Suppose you play it on Tuesday. Is it the exact same? No. There are various nuances. One note was held just a millisecond longer or shorter or something, because we are not machines and do not replicate we're not AI, right? We're not going to replicate we're not silk screens that where it's like even though if you play Beethoven's Fifth and I play Beethoven's Fifth and Mike plays Beethoven's Fifth and Larnzell plays Beethoven's Fifth, we're all playing Beethoven's Fifth, even though there are slight variations to it being played. So the key point, once again, just to get to the point, if we do the practice, if we do the work, there will be an experience that occurs as a result of the practice. Now, will this be, will the painting be the way I wanted the painting to turn out? Maybe, maybe not. Then I'll do another painting until I get to, there she is, the Mona Rosa. Lisa was already taken. The Mona Rosa. Oh, I love the smile. I'm going to keep on doing until I get to the painting that I'm going to keep on writing until I get this paragraph in my book to say what I wanted to say. I'm going to keep on doing a spiritual mind treatment until I get the experience that I desire to get. So it's important that we get really clear on this idea, because a lot of people use this concept and beat themselves up for not being able to repeat the results that they think they should be able to get. Facts, a thing that is known or proved to be true. Subjective facts, objective facts. Subjective facts are statements of opinion, belief, or personal perspective that cannot necessarily be proven true or false, but they are true for you. They are factual for you. Unlike objective facts, which are based on verifiable evidence, and they apply to everyone. Subjective facts are unique to individual experiences and feelings. I'm happy today. Is that a fact? Can I verifiably prove it? What is the evidence that says that is in fact what I feel? Now you can, he's laughing, he's smiling, but what if that's a mask? What if I'm acting like that because I don't want you to know how I feel? A lot of functional depression is good at faking it. Trust me, I know. So how do I prove love? How do I prove this is what I feel? It's a fact that this is what I feel. It's a fact that that's what I'm thinking. I can't prove that. I can't prove I was just thinking about Black Panther or Doctor Strange. Subjective facts versus objective facts. The world is round. Objective fact, it can be proven. There is enough research and what it can be proven. Some people still choose not to believe it, but that's neither here nor there. Once again, being able to discern an objective fact versus a subjective fact. How well do I know these things? Facts do not cease to exist simply because someone chooses to ignore them. The earth is round and does not become flat simply because someone believes that it's flat. It is what it is. When these two people square off and look at the fact is there is something, a shape on the floor, on the ground. That is a fact. If it's a 6 or a 9, well, that's a subjective fact. To you, it looks like a 6. To you, it's perceived as a 9. But yes, we see how you derived at that because the fact is, objectively, you are both looking at what's on the ground in front of you and you are interpreting it subjectively, etc. Many people did the exact same thing with the other thing you are seeing at the Capitol. People know what they saw. Many of the people who were there know what they experienced as they did their best to keep these individuals outside. So I'm speaking specifically of like the Capitol Police. They know what they experienced, and yet there are those who say that it wasn't what they experienced. Facts do not cease to exist simply because someone chooses to ignore them. Breathe. All truth resolves itself into this self-evident fact that the universe must be a self-sustaining and self-perpetuating spiritual order, amply able to provide for its own needs and to adequately express its own inherent desires. Breathe. This is why you will often hear me say that this breath is God breathing itself as me. Because this self-sustaining and self-perpetuating spiritual order provides for its own needs. Okay. Each person is some part of this universe. Why then is the person limited unless it be that this person has contradicted the fundamental principle of self-existence and in ignorance of their true nature repudiated the greater claim which they might have made upon the universe? So what is this saying to you? We are unlimited beings, and if we embody and step into the greater awareness of our limitless nature, There is so much more healing and evolutionary that we will have access to, because that which the universe is takes care of itself. And so when we step into that space, individually and collectively, the greater claim can actually be experienced, a world that works for all. It is a reduction of the inner mind. Sorry, I said reduction. Woo! Rewind. It is a re-education of the inner mind through understanding that produces the cure. We must re-educate. Change your thinking, we must re-educate. By the renewing of your mind, be thou changed. When we re-educate the mind, we produce the cure. It is seeing, recognizing, and accepting the truth about our being that heals. Are we seeing? Are we recognizing? And are we accepting the truth of our being? Most of the time, we're not. Most of the time, we're anthropomorphizing God. And when we do that, we are not seeing, recognizing, and accepting the truth about our being, because we're still seeing our being and God's being as distinctly separate beings versus infinite being itself as you. It's a very different energy. So what about the truth? What's the truth? The quality or state of being, accurate, factual, valid, genuine, or honest. That which is true or in accordance with fact or reality, a fact or a belief that is accepted as true. Are there objective facts and subjective or facts? Truth, objective truth, and subjective truth is what that should say. Well, subjective truth is a truth based upon an individual's personal perspectives, feelings, beliefs, and experiences, rather than objective facts that are universally accepted, right? Same kind of thing we said about facts earlier. So, can you think of it for yourself? Can you think of a subjective truth? True for you, but may not be true for everybody else. It's based on your personal perspectives, your feelings, your beliefs, your experiences. Is it true that me, am still having moments and whatnot of grief, as I recently did back in October, because October 14th is the anniversary of my father's transition. September 29th is his birthday. So that period between September 29th and October 14th hadn't bothered me for a couple of years, but this year was different. Is that a subjective truth, or is that true for everybody? It's true for me. That space of time brought up grief for me, for everybody. An objective truth, gravity affects us all. If I open my fingers, the ink pen is not going to go up. It's going to go down. That's an objective truth based on science. How well, once again, are we able to discern between subjective truth and objective truth? Because the Truth be told, this is one of the reasons why so many people get involved in wars and fights, because they do not know the difference between opinions, facts, and the truth, subjectively or objectively. Jealousy and things, it's based upon people who do not know how to discern the difference and are not emotionally intelligent enough to do what they need to do. So, when we re-educate our minds, we enter into a space of greater capacity to be able to navigate this thing called life. I'm giving you some space. Because it's a lot to take in. Most people are other people. Their thoughts are someone else's. Opinions, their lives, a mimicry. Their passions, a quotation. In other words, most people are not originally themselves. They are not authentic. They are simply trying to be something or someone else. Most people are other people. Their thoughts, someone else's opinions. Their lives, a mimicry. Their passions, a quotation. Very often we live this thing called life trying to be like someone else, dress like someone else. We've all done it. It's part of growing up and being mature. But at some point, when do we branch out and be ourselves? When do we no longer jump to conclusions? When do we no longer judge based upon the court of public opinion? The court of public opinion moves much faster than the law. We know stories of how someone was judged. They were what's the word? They were judged and executed, persecuted, all within a matter of, oh, you did this. Well, no, I didn't. I'm accused of it. No, you did it. And their entire reputation. There's a football player recently who ended his life as a result of the court of public opinion. There was a car accident. I can't think of this young man's name. There was a car accident, and the officers on site lied, said it was his fault, told the witnesses to say that it was his fault. It was sent out in public that it was his fault. He began to get harassed, his family harassed, because you caused this person to die and all these things, and he couldn't take the pressure. So he ended his life. Only for very recently, I think it was in October, late September, footage came out. I don't remember if it was body cam footage or car cam, whatever. Footage came out that they already knew, came out to say there's no way he caused this accident. His car wasn't at the scene when the accident happened. You see when the accident happened, and you can count 1, 2, 3, 4. There's his car. So not only do we jump to conclusions, we jump to confusion so often because we do not know how to be authentically ourselves in a place of this opinion, this fact, this truth, subjective, objective. That's that, subjective, objective, that's okay. I know the difference. Because if we really understood and knew the difference, we wouldn't judge people so quickly, so harshly. Too often, we enjoy the comfort of opinion without the discomfort of thought. This is the good Kennedy. Step into the space of discomfort and challenge the thinking. Re-educate the mind. Renew the mind. Especially because fear is a natural reaction to moving closer to the truth. And so we avoid the truth because, but why? Because the truth, the thing that will set us free, often scares us because we are taught not to be free. We are taught to bury our heads in the sand, avoid. And one of the things that comes up regarding this is ADD. And no, I'm not talking about attention deficit disorder. I'm talking about avoid, deny, distract. Avoid the truth, deny, and then distract from it. Change the subject. This is also why PTSD shows up. And no, I'm not talking about post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm talking about pretend. Talk in circles. Silence the subject and distance yourself from the subject. These are the best ways to avoid dealing with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God. Pretend like you didn't hear the question. Talk in circles. But if he said he didn't say it, then he couldn't have said what he didn't say if he didn't say it. What? If he said he didn't say it, and he couldn't have said what he didn't say if he didn't said it on Monday. Never mind, I don't even want to talk to you now. I feel like I need to take a bath. What in the world? These are the antithesis of being in a space of what the truth is so the truth can set us free. If you don't want a man unhappy politically, don't give him two sides to a question to worry him. Give him one. Better yet, give him none. Let him forget that there is such a thing as war. If the government is inefficient, top-heavy, and tax-mad, better it be all those than that people worry over it. Peace, Montag. Give the people contest. They win by remembering the words to more popular songs or the names of state capitals or how much corn Iowa grew last year. Cram them full of non-combustible data. Chock them so damned full of facts, they feel stuffed, but absolutely brilliant with information. Then they'll feel their thinking. They'll get a sense of motion without moving, and they'll be happy because facts of that sort don't change. Ray Bradbury is in essence saying, if you invite people into a state of cognitive dissonance, if you give them an opiate of consciousness to lull them into thinking that they're actually critically thinking, then they won't think at all. And those that do not think are easily moved, easily swayed, easily controlled. Breathe. So on your screen, you see a variety of different women doing a variety of different things. The chemist studies chemistry, studies chemicals, what they are, their properties, how they respond and react. The geologist studies geology, rocks and formations of. The forensic scientist studies forensics, all of the things regarding fingerprints and DNA and evidence. The botanist studies botany to be able to differentiate and say this plant that they call a weed is actually such and such, such and such. And it is used for, and this is how it benefits the ecosystem. Each of these ists, chemist, geologist, forensic scientist, and botanist, study their respective sciences. What do we study? As religious scientists, what are we studying? These women are practicing something. What does it look like to practice chemistry, botany? What does it look like to practice religious science? I'm going to leave it at that. Sit down before fact as a little child. Be prepared to give up every preconceived notion. Follow humbly whenever and whatever abysses nature leads. Wherever and to whatever abysses nature leads, or you shall learn nothing. I have only begun to learn content and peace of mind since I have resolved at all risks to do this. As a little child, be prepared to give up a preconceived notion or idea by being open at the top, being willing to receive, being willing to discern the difference between what is beneath, what is on, and what is above the surface of a thing. Excuse me. In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. Being able to discern what is on, what is beneath, what is above, in order to discern and tell the truth. To engage in this revolutionary act. In our ignorance of the truth, we have misused the highest power we possess. And so great is this power, so complete is our freedom in it, so absolute the domain of law through it, that the misuse of this power has brought upon us the very conditions from which we suffer. And so we suffer, not because suffering is imposed upon us, but because we are ignorant of our true nature. Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. We might want to meditate on that one, Marcus. You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. Actions speak louder than words because actions require more commitment, effort, and consistency than mere words, making them a more authentic and reliable indicator of a person's true intentions, beliefs, and character. Words can be easily manipulated, insincere, or used to deceive, while actions serve as concrete manifestations of a person's values that cannot be easily dismissed. What are your actions revealing? Thoughts create feelings, feelings create behavior, behavior reinforces thoughts, and the cycle continues. Our thoughts, our beliefs, our emotions and feelings, the things that motivate us, become intentions that then show up as behavior, as the activity of our lives. The Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0 offers us a path, practice, and way of embodied living that enables us to recognize and discern the thought forms, opinions, facts, and truths of the collective consciousness, which in many cases are deceitful and are lies. Knowing the truth of ourselves, knowing the truth of others, and knowing the truth of life itself, we gain greater clarity and agency as to how we desire to show up, how we will serve and heal individually and collectively. We are no longer subject, like many in Hollywood, to ineffective or abusive directors, producers, or fellow actors. We now understand that we can be the screenwriter, producer, director, actor, cinematographer, and editor as we craft the blockbuster life and the blockbuster world that we choose to live in and experience. Breathe. This week's affirmation, our declaration, I will say it first, and if it resonates with you, I invite you to repeat it the second time. I value my ability to act based upon the clarity that comes from distinguishing between the various truths, facts, and opinions, as well as the truth. Together. I value my ability to act based on the clarity that comes from distinguishing between various truths, facts, and opinions, as well as the truth. And so it is. This week's personal journal questions or Thursday night study group questions. What is one subjective and one objective opinion, fact, and truth that I hold? How do I manage when someone has a conflicting opinion, fact, or truth? Are there any factors that change how I manage or navigate it? How have the opinions, facts, and truths of others impacted my life adversely? Or what did I do about it? What are some of the opinions, facts, truths that are currently being passed off as objective when they are in fact subjective and are more akin to lies? Okay. How do my opinions, facts, and truths shape my behaviors? 3 examples are: what is an example of how fear is a natural reaction to my moving closer to the truth? And this week's the practice. Are you ready for this? You have the opportunity to discuss the following quote by Robert Jones Jr., which is often attributed to James Baldwin. We can disagree and still love each other unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and my right to exist. Discuss it. What's it mean for you? And we breathe as we enter into that space of prayer, which this week I will simply say, I live, move, and have my beingness as the embodiment of the truth, the whole truth, and only that which is true, that which is God, that which is love, that which is joy, beauty, creativity, imagination, and limitless possibility, and so much more, wisdom, intelligence, insight, and so much more. I am that which I am ever becoming, more and more of the truth of who and what I am as a divine expression of God. And as I say this for myself, it applies to all that is. The law does what the law does, knowing that this is already answered prayer. So I simply say, and so it is. And so it is. Namaste, blessings. Ooh, we getting close. It's going to be a Thanksgiving pretty soon. Blessings and gratitude to you. See you sometime during the week, or same bat time, same bat channel next Sunday. Love and appreciate you.